The Notre Dame Fighting Irish continue their trek towards a perfect finish to the 2025 season with another home game against a foe that has not been very good on the defensive side of the ball, but very explosive on the offensive side of the ball with a key victory on their resume. Want to find out who this foe is and how Mr. CeeLo feels they stack up against the mighty Irish? Stay tuned to find out on Talk Like a Champion. Welcome back, Irish Nation. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another edition of Talk Like a Champion. Of course, you're here with me, Mr. CeeLo, as always. And guys, I just want to break it down to you. I hope you guys are doing great on this wonderful near weekend. But we got to get into business, you guys. And here we are. We know what we got to do. We know what's at stake. We got to come in and we got to act like it. As the North Carolina State Wolfpack, they're ready to come in here. They're ready to get the upset. They're ready to put our dreams of a national championship to bed. And many of you will say that, well, we lost to A&M and we lost to Miami. What chance do we have? Or are we good enough to win a championship? When I look at this game, you guys, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, CJ Carr didn't perform this way, or the offensive line didn't perform this way, and the opposing teams are getting better too. All those are true. However, I think the coach's faith in these players were sorely mistaken when they played Miami and Texas A&M. And I think ultimately there were some coaching mistakes that were made. You know, the faith that the Irish had in Jadarian Price. I think so many of you, and I said this on my show after we lost the Miami game, give the ball to Price if Love is not getting it done. Look, the beautiful thing about having two great backs is that if one doesn't have it going because of the defense or whatever, give it to another back.
Is this a hypothetical question?
And ultimately, Mike Denbrock, I guess, forgot that. When in doubt, give it to Jadarian.
Bruh.
But let's get into the fact that the Irish have business to take care of at home against the NC State Wolfpack. And, you know, given that this NC State team is one of the worst defenses that the Irish will play this season, the Irish just need to realize that they need to come out and just do what they do. And that's where I'm going to leave it at. I'm not going to come out here and I'm going to sugarcoat it. You know, you got a lot of analysts out here overthinking it. And this game is in South Bend. I think the first thing Marcus Freeman better make sure these guys have is the idea that they're not just going to walk out here and walk all over North Carolina State and without a fight. This is a team that has a quarterback that's thrown for nearly 1,700 yards, basically over 300 yards a game, just about it, in Bailey. And he's thrown for 13 scores and 4 interceptions. So, needless to say, they're gonna have to come out here and they're gonna do their thing. And then they've got a guy in Hollywood Smothers, whom if they play around, he can hurt them. But I also believe that Smothers has not faced a defense nearly as brutal as this Fighting Irish defense that is finally starting to catch its grip. So, needless to say, I think a lot of people in Irish Nation owe Chris Ash an apology. I will give him a partial apology because ultimately I did say that he needed to have some things changed. So, ultimately, I think he figured some things out. Going to Tay Johnson, I think it's been a huge swing. He's put more pressure on the quarterback. And ultimately, listen, when you run a scheme where anytime you can get pressure and give a quarterback less than 4 seconds to throw the football, I don't care how you do it, it is going to change the complexity of the game. Chris Ash has done a tremendous job now. He's turned it around. I think ultimately this is a defense that is now going to find itself back where it was last season. Ultimately, the game starts and flows through Hollywood Smothers, the running back for NC State. They're going to have to be able to slow this guy down. This guy has 693 rush yards, and they try to get it to him in the passing game, where he has only 124 yards receiving, but he's got that one touchdown. Now, you can say these stats are overinflated because of the lack of competition that they've had in some of these games. But keep in mind, they did beat Virginia. So, this is a very dangerous team if you take them lightly, which Notre Dame has to be in full desperation mode, as many of you have heard from other places. But I want you guys to be aware of something else. Not only is Notre Dame in desperation mode, but they are in absolute destroy mode. Absolute blow the doors off of everybody. Because that's where they have to be, you guys. I think that's the most important thing that many people in the media are forgetting. We got to win with style points. We can't just let NC State be in this game. We can't let anybody, even USC next week, you guys. Now, I said that to say this. We also cannot get caught looking ahead at USC. We've got a whole week to prep for them. We've been prepping hopefully all week for NC State, and we come out with the mindset, this is who we're in front of. And this is who's in front of us. We're not out there trying to beat Mayava or any of those guys. We're out here to handle home field and knock out an opponent that has one of the worst tackling percentages in the nation. And we've got to be able to come out there and do what we didn't do last week, which was execute. And that was on C.J. Carr in a lot of instances. And an occasion, it was the offensive line. Because the offensive line didn't do a great job last week. Too many times we didn't execute. Jeremiah Love didn't execute well. So we've got to get back on track. We have to continue to be impressive. We can't just we got to be the best 2-loss team for the rest of the season. We cannot have teams that have gotten impressive wins stay in that group. We have to continue to be the best 2-loss team, and we got to continue to make that resume look impressive. To me, the most important player in this game is, again, going to be C.J. Carr. Because ultimately, our two-headed monster is what is going to scare NC State. And that is what they don't want a part of. They don't tackle well. It's another case of Boise State, another team that is at the bottom in tackles. As I said, we have got to be able to inflict our will on them and make them have to do something that they have not in this season been able to do, which is tackle exceptionally well. And last week was not a good illustration of what happens when you don't tackle well. It was a great, well-coached team in a lot of ways because we didn't see nearly as many broken tackles by Jarrett and Maya Love and Jadarian Price as we thought we would. We actually saw this team grow up, and I'm talking about Boise State. We saw this team make some mass improvements tackling the football. And as I said, you're going to see that with NC State. It would not surprise me if that's what they worked on all week, because this team is primarily offensive minded. They put up a lot of points and a lot of yardage. And ultimately, the Irish are going to have to focus on bringing pressure. And looks like now Chris Ash is really starting to submit to that idea, which is great for the defense. And you're seeing the results. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's ultimately what Chris Ash has had to submit himself to, is to understand that there's nothing wrong with bringing pressure. That doesn't make you a bad defense. It just makes you a defense that is willing to take risk. And I don't think the risk is a bad thing, especially when you have corners that are as athletically and intellectually gifted as some of the guys on this roster are, such as Leonard Moore. When you got a guy like Leonard Moore that can darn near just shut down one guy or shut down one side of the field, whether you're playing zone or whether you're playing man, that's a gift in itself, and you cannot take that lightly. And we've got some really good cover corners. Christian Gray has his moments, as we saw in the Arkansas game. But needless to say, Ash is, I think, really starting to trust this unit. And he's starting to do some different things with this unit. And you're starting to see the benefits. As I said, you're seeing more big nickel formations from the Irish. Putting Tay Johnsons and being able to put different players out there to really set up what they want to do. And with these types of formations, playing those big nickels, you're seeing less and less of guys like Kingston Villamauasa, because you're only playing two linebackers. But he played a lot of plays last week, and it also cuts down on guys like Jaden Osbury and puts guys like Jalen Stroman out there, and you're seeing less Jalen Sneed. These are some talented linebackers this Notre Dame crew has, and I understand why. And I understand why Chris Ash wants to get these linebackers out there, because they're very talented. And I think the only way you can justifiably get them out there is being able to put blitz packages. That's what I would say. But you definitely want to have that extra guy, or just play one safety. Play that one safety up and bring that safety up and put him into coverage. As I said, Tay Johnson has looked good in coverage at times. Even Adon Schuler at times has looked good. So ultimately, you want to be in a position where you're making some really good decisions as Chris Ash for this, to make this team be in the right places to make plays. Of course, Leonard Moore had 3 interceptions on the season. He had 2 in that Boise State game. So you got to consider what the strengths of this team are. And I think Chris Ash is really starting to find that out. As much as you want to, as much as he may have preferred to go away from Al Golden's style of playing defense, I think he ultimately realizes that, look, there's no reason why I should do that. It's going to be successful, and it has been successful. Sometimes you have to come out of what you do as a coach to get what it does. Get done what needs to get done. And I commend Chris Ash. While everybody was saying, oh, this was a mistake and this, that, maybe just like a coach, a player's got to get his footing here as well. So I commend Chris Ash. Now, granted, we're going to see what that defense can do this week, because everybody's still thinking just because we put down Boise State, that was just this, that, and other. I think ultimately what it boils down to is Chris Ash knew he had to do some different things. He understands that, look, heat them up. If I can't get you with 4, okay, all right. You might have got me on this one, but I'm going to get you on the next one. I love the way Chris Ash is thinking. I think he is now turning into that defensive coordinator that is going to follow the path left by Al Golden. And he is going to be the next great defensive coordinator. I'm calling it right here on Talk Like a Champion. I think they shut down NC State. I think Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price have a huge game. I don't even think C.J. Carr is going to have to do very much, because, guys, like I said, when I tell you NC State, there was, I think, if I look at the schedule that NC State had, they had games where East Carolina and who was it, Campbell? Yeah, Campbell had a ton of yards in that game against them, and even Virginia Tech running the football. So we're looking at a team that, as I said before, they give up yardage on the ground, and that ain't good for a team that's got to face one of the top run offenses in the country. Not to mention, you got a quarterback who can scare the crap out of you going down the field. Now, I'm not saying CJ Carr's not going to make any plays, but I think ultimately this is going to be a game where the running game is going to be featured and often. And when NC State starts to sneak up, like Marcus Freeman is starting to show and Denbrock is starting to show, he's going to get these guys involved. And at the end of the day, if CJ Carr has 4 touchdown passes and less than 200 yards, would not surprise me one bit. Would not surprise me one bit. Because I want that to be our identity. And I imagine Denbrock wants this to be our identity. Because to everyone, CJ Carr, well, while he may have been very good, he has been very good, this is ultimately Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price's team right now. And CJ Carr is just the driver. Let me know what you guys think. Guys, make sure you comment below and tell me what you think about the preview of the NC State Wolfpack. What do you think are the keys to the game? Whom do you think is going to be featured? And how do you think the Irish are going to fare? And make sure you go over to Facebook and add the group Talk Like a Champion, as well as the Facebook page Talk Like a Champion, so you can catch up with the things that we will be talking about and stay in the conversation. Finally, make sure you go to Instagram. Follow me over there at Mr. CeeLo so you can keep up with all the things and shenanigans that I will be caught up with during the season. One more thing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification over here at YouTube so that you can so that every time I have a show that comes out, you will have first time access. But until we meet again, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun rise warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.